Okay, welcome to another Friday night. This video was actually supposed to post last Friday night. I know some of you probably caught on that we did not have one post last Friday night. Unfortunately, things are going to happen. We haven't had that happen yet. We're in week 19, I believe, and we haven't had a little blimp, but we did have some sickness going through our house. We did have some traveling, and the video could not post last Friday, so I do apologize. So I'm going to post it tonight on Christmas Eve. And then you'll have the Christmas stitch for Friday night post this Friday for sure. So do bear with me. Sometimes that's going to happen in these next weeks that we go through. But we're trucking right along. And so here is our stitch that should have been last week's stitch. This is called the Mermaid Stitch. We're going to start out. This time I am using, if you can see it here, the size I. It's the USA measurement. So if you are using a UK one, I believe it is a 7 millimeter. It may be a 6.5 millimeter, but it's the I, so you may have to look that up. Offhand today, my brain is not wanting to work. The yarn I'm using is from a brand I love. I love that brand. I love this brand, I think it is, from Hobby Lobby. So it's just green. It's a green kind of minty color. The first thing I want you to do in the mermaid stitch is to chain a multiple of 10 and then add 2. So here's my chain. I've done 20 and then added 2. So I've got 22 on here. Go ahead and do that, and then we'll meet back up and get the next part of the video going. Okay, so now you've got your chain. You're ready to turn. In this first stitch, I just want you to do a single crochet. This is going to count as your end stitch or your beginning stitch. It's the end stitch on each side in each row. So that's why I call it the end stitch, but it's your beginning stitch on this side. In the next 4 stitches, you're going to also put a single crochet. So you end up doing 5 in a row, but I want you to not count that first one as part of the 4. Because like I said, it's just the end stitch to keep your project having an end. So I don't really want you to count that one. So it'll be 1 single crochet and then 4 single crochets. But it'll look the same as 5 single crochets across. So there's your 4. And then you got your 1 in your end here. In the next one, I want you to skip that one and just chain 1, because we're going to skip that one. In the next V-stitch right here, we're going to put 9 single crochets into this one stitch. So there's 1, there's 2, there's 3. It's going to get a little crowded. That's a small chain to put 9 stitches in. But I want you to try to do it if you can. See how many we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We need 4 more. See, it's starting to curl and kind of fold up on this, and that is totally okay. But we want to make sure we get them all in there because it starts to make a shell. See that? So that's what we want. So make sure you get them in there. After you have your 9, then you're going to repeat. You're going to put 1 single crochet here. Lost my train of thought there, sorry. 1 single crochet here. A single crochet in this stitch. A single crochet in this stitch, chain 1, skip 1, and then 9 single crochets in this stitch. This first chain, or first couple of rows on a chain, I always say are the worst because your material's going all over the place and you're trying to hold on to one little small piece, and it kind of is always kind of frustrating. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we need 4 more. And it's just hard to work with because you don't really have much project to hang on to. So totally understand, and it makes the videos hard to watch too because I'm trying to hold on to this to show you. and it's just a little bit squiggly. But get them all in there, and then I'll show you what it looks like when I can hold it out flat and actually hold on to it. I have a little bit of arthritis in my left thumb here, and it definitely causes me some problems when I have to hold tight like that and try to maneuver around. When you're done with your 9 in the 1 stitch, do your 4 single crochets again. There's 2, 3, and 4. I'll let you kind of catch up, and then I will meet back up with you and show you how to turn and do the next row back. Okay, so this is going to look kind of weird. Here's what it looks like. You've got these 2 fan kind of shell looking stitches going here, and then a bunch of chaining on each side. And that's our piece. And remember, I'm doing 22 because I'm doing just a little quilt square of it. But it looks kind of weird, but that's what I want it to look like, is those little shells. So we're ready to turn. When we turn your project, chain 1, because you've turned to the next row. In this first stitch, I want you to single crochet. My tail is wanting to flip up and get in the video for you, so get that little guy down. Now, halfway here, which is about right here where we skipped that stitch on the bottom and we chained 1 to skip it, I want you to put 9 trebles. So a treble is wrapping around once, wrapping around twice, and then go into your stitch right there and pull through. You'll have 4 hoops on your needle. So just as in a double crochet, you're going to yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and because it's a triple, you're going to do it one more time, yarn over, pull through 2. There is the triple crochet. It's really long, so you can see a single crochet would have been here, then a double, and then this is a triple. In the UK, they call it a treble, so if you're watching from there, or you're from there, or you're just used to seeing trebles in the pattern, same stitch. A triple crochet and a treble crochet are the same thing. So you're going to do 9 of those. Again, yarn over, then go into your stitch, pull through. You'll have 4 hoops on your needle, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So I'm going to go ahead and let you get 9 of those made, and then we'll join back up and continue on from there. Okay, so there is our 9 trebles. You can see them all across there. This is a lot like the shell stitch that we taught in the 100 Fridays video a couple of times back. I believe it was maybe number 14 or 15 on our list of 100 stitches. But in the shell, I think we did 5 of them. If I want to remember right, 5 or 6 of them. On this one, you're doing 9. So these are all similar stitches. They all come from the same type of pattern. They just end up making, like this is going to make mermaid shells. This will make really neat sleeping bags, or if you're trying to do even a mermaid tail for a little girl. This is the stitch that you want to use for that. There's also another one that we'll learn here in a couple weeks called the fan stitch. When you do the fan stitch, you want to do 7. So each one's a different variant. I like to know them all and teach them all because they all do different things when you're trying to make certain projects. So for this, again, I'm making mermaid tails out of it. This particular piece here, this green one, I'm going to do for the quilt square blanket that we're doing. But I just want you to know that when we did the shell stitch, if you learned it, I think it was 5 or 6 off the top of my head. I can't remember. But the mermaid one is 9 and the fan one is 7. So make sure you're doing 9 if you're trying to do the mermaid scales. And then we'll learn the fan here in a couple of weeks, and I'll show you the difference in it when you do this. When you do 7, it also makes a difference if you do doubles or trebles. The mermaid is a treble stitch. The shell stitch was a double crochet. So they're all a little bit different variants of each other. So as you are learning this, you might be thinking, oh, I feel like we did this before, or oh, I kind of remember this. That's probably why, because the mermaid, the shell, the fan, the open shell, there are several variations of this, and they all kind of look a little bit different, which makes your project come out really, really cool. So back to our Friday night stitch. If you've done your 9 trebles, you're ready for the next part. You've got this little fan from the row before where we did the 9 single crochets. I want you to find the very center one. So you're going to count over 4. You're going to skip those. In the 5th one, which should be the top of that little fan, you're going to put a single crochet stitch. Before you do it, I do want you to chain 1 because you've skipped some stitches here. Then find your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, your 5th stitch, which should be right in the middle because you did 9. Go into that V and just put a normal single crochet. Then you're going to chain again, 1 more. Over here, you're going to skip these 4 going down. You're going to find that one that we did the extra chain, which should be right here. And you're going to, again, put another mermaid scale into that. So you'll do the 9 trebles into that chain 1 stitch. All into that same chain 1. There's 4. There's 4. I'm going to make the other 5 and then I'll join you back and we'll finish this row out. Okay, so you've done your other mermaid scale. You've got your 9 into that one there. Doing the same thing we did before, you're going to chain 1. You're going to skip these, find that center one in the top of that bubble, which should be the 5th stitch over. You're going to go into it and just put a simple single crochet and then chain 1 again. Over here, find that chain 1 that you did, put 9 trebles into that, and then I'll show you how to end the row right there. Okay, so we finished our last shell. If you did the 22 like me, you'll have 3 shells that show up, or mermaid scales that show up to make your 1 row. If you're doing longer than that, you'll have 1 every 6 stitches, because this is, you're going to chain 10 and you're putting 9, so you end up, because of you skipping those 4, you end up with 3 for every 20 stitches. So if you're doing a 40 stitch blanket or a 40 stitch piece or whatever you're doing, you would end up with 6 shells. So keep that in mind when you're trying to make something from scratch. You're not using a pattern, you're just using the stitch. For every 10 stitches, you do a multiple of 10 plus 2. So for every 10 stitches, if you're doing 12, you would probably end up with a shell and a half. It probably wouldn't work out quite right. But with 20, doing the 22, you'll end up with 3 shells. So with, if you did 40, you would have, and plus 2, you'd have 42, you'd probably end up with 6 shells, and so on. So keep that in mind on your stitch count so that you know how many shells you're going to have and how many on the end. There's your 4 single crochets that you're going to skip. You're going to go ahead and chain 1 and skip those, just like you did at the beginning in this very last stitch. You're going to go into it and just do a simple single crochet to end the row. Now you're wanting to turn and go back. I'm going to change colors and I'll show you why here that I'm going to do that. I like to do every row a different color when I'm doing the mermaid stitch because I'm working on a mermaid tail right now as we speak to do a little sleeping bag. And when you change colors on this stitch, that's what you get. It actually starts looking like fish scales. And so I change colors every row. Now here's our beginning row that I just worked through with you, where you get the 4 skipped single crochets. Here's your chain 1, and here's your 9 trebles. So on this one, I did a pretty long first row, so you can see that. And so I have more fans to start out with. But you'll want to remember that it's a multiple of 10 plus 2, and then like I said, I change rows every row on this because it just makes it look more fish scaly. So I'm going to go ahead and do that on this green quilt block too. I'm going to change to a white, and I'll do that real quickly here. And I'll show you the next row that we want to do. Okay, so I've changed over and I just brought my white through the loop just to change. I still have the green attached. I'll trim that here in a minute, but I've changed colors because I want this row of scales to be a different color. Now, in this first starting out, I'm going to chain 2 as if I was making a double crochet here. And then, because I want to skip these beginning stitches, I need something here where it'll make a hole. So what I need to do is make like a half shell. In order to do that, I need to put a treble here. And so I'm going to put a treble into this first one, and I'm actually going to put 3 trebles in there. And that is because I don't want a hole to be made there, but I also don't want a fan there, because if I put a whole fan there, if I do all 9, I'm going to end up with my project kind of doing like a big V. I'll start gaining stitches and it'll start going like this. So you can't really put a whole fan there, and you don't really want a true half of a fan because you don't really want to gain stitches. You really want the edge of your pattern to stay straight. I'm going to show you this back on that sleeping bag I'm doing. But you'll have this little chain here, and then you'll put these 3, chain another one to skip. Again, just like we did before, you're looking for that center stitch, so you have 9, so it's that 5th one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's this one right here. You're going to go in that and just do a single crochet and chain 1 again. Now, if you can see that, it fills that gap so that you don't have a hole there, because you would have a hole there if those stitches were missing. But it keeps the side of your pattern straight. So that's what it looks like on this one as we're working. But on this one where I've got multiple rows, you can definitely see it. These are those half shells where I've just done the 4, and it makes it look where your edge of your pattern is still together, but there's not a big gaping hole in between these 2 shells. It's like you literally cut through that shell to make that line if it was really one big piece. So that's why that's kind of important to have those in those edges. Now you just go back to the same thing you were doing right here in this chain 1, or this single crochet that you did between the 2. You got a mermaid shell here and a mermaid shell here, and we did these 2 chains, but right here in the top of this shell we put that single crochet. That's where you're placing the next shell of your trebles. So you want to put 9 trebles into that single crochet. Sorry, I don't mean that to fold right in the way of the video, didn't it? Just perfect. So there's where you're going to start making your shell, and when you get those 9, it'll fill in like that, and then we'll single crochet here. So go ahead and get those 9 trebles put in there, and then I'll show you how to join that shell. Okay, so here we are back. Here's our 9 that we just finished, filling in that gap there. You can see how that looks filling in that gap right there. So now what we want to do is the same thing we just did. We chain 1, and then we find our center, our 5th one here, skip those first 4, go into the top of that mermaid shell and do a simple single crochet, chain 1. Now over here, looking again for that center stitch right there, the one right here, that single crochet stitch that was between those 2 chains, go into that stitch there and do the next treble. Remembering on the ends, you're going to do, we changed 2 because this time we were trying to make it level with our shell. So when we get to this end, we're going to do a half shell, which is 3 trebles into this end stitch, and then put a double crochet before you turn. That fills in that with a half shell so that when you turn, your edging stays straight. So go ahead and do this mermaid shell here, and then I'll walk you through the end of that. Okay, so there's our 9. Chain 1. We find our center one here, which is 5, so it's going to be that one. We put a single crochet there, and we chain 1. So here's the end that I was telling you about. You want to make sure what you do on this and what you do on the other. You're going to treble 3 times into your end stitch over here. 3 times, doing a half fan. Nope, don't pull through all of them by accident. I do that a lot. Get going fast. I get going too fast. And here's 3. Then I just want you to put a double crochet into that end stitch, because when we started this row, remember we chained 2. Again, when you look at it from the side, that makes it fill in that gap and keep that line straight. Now I'm ready to change colors again, so I'm going to change colors so that I can go back. On this second row, if you can't see that, you should have 2 shells, and the third shell is a half on each end. You still have the 3 shells in your thread count, but one's been broken and you have 2 halves. Okay, so I want to go back, now that we've done our piece and learned the stitch, I want to go back to the mermaid tail I was doing, which is here. I'm getting ready to go across this row, so I've done my half and joined on. Now I'm ready, I've done my 9 here for this shell. I'm ready to do my chain 1 with my needle, so I'm going to do my chain 1, and then I'm ready to do my single crochet stitch here, but I'm putting a bead, if you'll notice on this back side, I'm putting a bead on every other row when I do this stitch. So I'm going to show you how to do that. You take your needle out. There is a video on how to put beads on. You're going to have your thread like this, thread this needle on here. You're going to string your bead onto your needle. You want to make sure that the needle is small enough for the bead to go through onto the hook, so you can see that there. You're going to yarn over and pull the yarn through that bead, just like that. And like I said, there's a video on how to generically put beads into your crocheting, so you'll want to watch that if you are unsure about putting beads onto your crocheting. But there's our bead, and there is our new hoop. So we're going to slide that down now that we have it on there. Change back, because we don't need our threading needle anymore, so we're going to change back to our regular hoop, or a regular hook. Go ahead and put your loops back on your needle. So there is our two loops back on our needle, and our bead is connected. Now we look for that 5th stitch. Skip those 4. We're looking for that 5th stitch to do our single crochet. We go in, pull through, and then hook our single crochet right on. And pull through all of those, and then do our regular chain. Our regular chain 1, and now we're ready to do our 9 trebles into our single crochet stitch for the next mermaid shell. And continue the same way down the row. When you want the bead to be on a certain side, you can just push it through, so that when you get the project going, all your beads, are pushed through onto the same side. So there's our bead on the top of our shell, just like the one here on the previous row, and I'm just continuing with this purple color onto the next row. Alright, I hope you enjoyed the mermaid shell. If you have any questions, message me. I will put the pattern in the comments so that you guys have it, and if you're looking for how to do the beads, there's a video on it, and if you're looking for how to do the treble stitch, there's also a video on it. So you might have to do some back videoing and rewatch some things, but I hope you enjoy this. I hope you make something neat with it. It's kind of a fun little stitch, and I will see you guys this Friday. I hope everybody has a Merry Christmas and a great holiday tomorrow. Santa comes in the morning, so crochet away and get all your projects done so that you guys can have a Merry Christmas tomorrow. I will see you Friday.